Yes, Sam, I'm not trying to contradict you. You're certainly the expert in this, but I did what I think would be a prudent person's response to this. I called my homeowner's insurance, Erie Insurance, and asked if I bought an electric motorized scooter, not that I can drive it because it's not legal right now, would it be covered? And the answer was yes. So you said generally homeowners insurance don't cover this. Can you provide to this committee or provide for me personally maybe a survey of your members and who do and who don't? Because it led to a longer discussion about ATVs, gators. My first scooter was actually two 2x4s and my sister's roller skates. Bicycles, and if we don't require insurance companies in Pennsylvania to cover e-scooters, is it possible through legislation that we could mandate the insurance companies cover these e-scooters?
As we all know well, you guys can mandate whatever you want to mandate,
but there wouldn't be anything.
We'll provide the coverage.
There wouldn't be any legal prohibition to us creating a mandate that said you must cover e-scooters.
No, it might not make a lot of sense for those of us who don't rent the scooter to have that folded into our premium. There's a big difference I might note, and Erie obviously is one of our members. Some of the confusion in this, it's one thing if you own the scooter.
Well, that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking, my bill 631 only allows these e-scooters to be legal in Pennsylvania for someone to own or use them. It doesn't even address the ride sharing,
correct?
Which is or scooter sharing. So we're talking about a hypothetical of someone going to be renting it. But if I own an e-scooter and it's legal because the bill goes through, and my neighbor comes by and says I want to borrow it and takes it out on the street and hits someone, who's responsible then?
And in that scenario, I'm not frankly I'll check with Erie, and sometimes an agent may not have fully considered it, but one of my colleagues is insured by Erie, and he doesn't think his homeowner policy.
Well, I called and asked, and he said yes.
And there's agents, but as I mentioned, how much they cover it, to what third party, is it just third party, is it first party? There's also a difference between if it's rental, but that goes to the point. Personal insurance policies are going to be all over the lot.
Well, of course,
because right now they're still adjusting it, and I appreciate the point that the bill itself is just to say, here, we're going to allow there to be e-scooters. As a practical matter, and purpose today is I was invited, was to talk about the insurance ramifications. The overwhelming bulk of these scooters, unlike bikes, is going to be in a rental scenario. And it's, that's where they're used.
How do you handle Segways? Segways, they were wildly popular. You use the term wildly popular. They were wildly popular at some point, right? I've never been able to ride a skateboard, but how do you handle skateboards?
Skateboard would generally, I'll look into that, and I'll get you answers on that. There's a big difference. The minute you put a motor on it, there's a big difference.
And Segways are motorized.
And I realize the Segway is a motorized one. I don't believe that a Segway goes anywhere close to 20 miles an hour.
Having tried to ride a Segway, it's actually probably more difficult to ride than a scooter.
We have that. We'll both share those dexterity tests.
Let me ask you another question. You may have watched the U.S. Open yesterday. Exciting finish for Gary Woodland. Liability for golf carts. There are 10,000 golf cart accidents per year. Who's liable for a golf cart?
And I think generally in a lot of the club settings, the club has a liability for the damages of the cart. But I'll look into that as well. Representative, we're happy to explore liability of any and all of these things. The difference, though, and I think it is a major difference, is how these are rented out versus, for instance, a golf cart or a Segway. Just the scale of it, as we've seen in other states, is a much bigger scale.
But again, that's not what my bill does. My bill, I'm sorry, I'll wrap this up. My bill allows the use of something that is not legal now, which it would surprise me if your industry in Pennsylvania was offering insurance for something that wasn't necessarily legal. But as we evolve and we legalize it, I would say, shouldn't we look at the states where these are being used and are legal and I would think you would want to adapt, and if you'd want to charge more for it, I certainly would encourage that. But this is a hypothetical discussion because e-scooters, unfortunately, are not legal in Pennsylvania, and I think that's why we have a problem with millennials fleeing Pennsylvania, and we have a demographic problem because we don't allow things that are wildly popular amongst young people. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.